Hi everyone, Miss Meek here, and today we are going to talk about finding the part, the whole, or the percent using something called a percent proportion. So we are going to be talking specifically about percent proportions. And we are also, along with that, going to be focusing on either finding the part, the whole, or the percent. So what's going to happen here today? What's going to happen today is we are going to be given two pieces of information, and our job is going to be to find the missing piece of information. So we're going to have three pieces of information, but we're going to be missing one of them. So the problem is going to give us two of the pieces, and we have to find that missing third piece. So let's talk about what a percent proportion is. It is two ratios written as fractions set equal to each other. One of the ratios is going to be the part over the whole. What I mean by that is that in these problems, we're going to have a total amount, and that is going to be our whole. One clue word that tells us we're talking about the whole is the word of, because when we have a whole amount of something, that is a clue word saying that we have a total there. So again, we're looking for words like of, talking about the total amount of something. Words like total. We're looking for, again, a complete set. The word part, what we mean by that is it is a piece. Maybe we are going to get a piece of candy out of a total amount. Maybe we got this many questions right on our math test out of 20 total questions. One clue word that helps us identify the part is the word is, okay? Again, this is going to be a piece of the total, okay? It's going to be a piece of the total. So it's going to be something specific. Like, for example, if I'm talking about people voting, maybe I had 300 people vote and 60 of them picked a fish as their favorite animal. The part would be the 60 people who picked fish, and the total amount would be the total 300 people who just voted. Now, on the other side of our equal sign, we are going to have the percent. And the percent is going to be really easy to spot because we're going to be looking for a percent sign. And we are going to write that percent as a fraction. And so that is why I have this 100 right here on the bottom. The second fraction, the second ratio in our percent proportion is the percent written as a fraction, meaning we're going to write that percent over 100. And then we're going to try to solve this proportion just like the other proportions that we have gone over how to solve. And if you don't remember how to solve proportions, you may want to go back, check out that video on solving proportions and ratios and all of those things, and get a little quick refresher, because we're going to be using a lot of those skills here with these percent proportions. So let's go ahead and jump in. Now, the hardest part is identifying the different pieces. So I'm going to be using different colors to represent our different pieces of information. Again, we're looking for three pieces of information, but one of them is going to be missing. And so yes, we do have to identify that. Now, before I even get started, I can draw my percent proportion. I'm going to have two fractions set equal to each other, and 100 is going to be on the bottom of that second fraction as the denominator, because remember, my percent is going to go on top. So let's go ahead and take a look at number one. It says 25 is what percent of 125? So first of all, the first thing I like to spot is my percent. I noticed here that for my percent, it actually says what percent. So right off the bat, I know I am missing my percent. I do not have a percent. And when I don't have something in a math problem and I am going to try to figure out what that number is later, I use a variable. And so I'm going to be using X to represent that missing percent. And then we got to figure out what is this 25? What is this 125? So with this 125, okay, I see that word of. So it makes me think that maybe this is a total or the whole amount. So it says it's 25 is this percent of 125. That makes me believe that this 125 is our whole. So this guy right here, I'm going to circle. This is our whole. Our whole goes on the bottom of our first ratio fraction there. And then I have 25 is, so the thing that's left, my missing piece that's left here is the part. So this is the part. We're trying to identify what percent represents this part here. So 25 is going to go on top. So I have my part over the whole, and then I have my missing percent that I'm going to solve for over 100. Now, this proportion is a little tricky, okay? We have to dig deep into our proportion skills because I can't actually I can't do anything to 125 directly to get it to equal 100. I can't divide it by anything. I can't multiply it by anything. So if you remember, when that happens with our proportion, we are going to have to simplify this fraction. So I am going to actually divide this fraction by either like 5 or even 25, some number, because I'm going to have to get a friendlier denominator that I can multiply to 100. So remember, when I can't get my proportion to immediately equal what I want it to, I'm going to have to do a little bit of work to make another pathway to get there. So I'm actually going to just simplify this, this fraction by 5. And when I do that, I'm actually going to write it over here so we have some more space. I'm going to end up with 5. And on the bottom there is going to be 25. Now, when I rewrite my proportion, I have some friendlier numbers here that I can now multiply up to 100. So 25 times what gives me 100? 4. And then I do the same thing on top here, multiply by 4. And so that tells me that my percent right there is going to be 20. Now this is a percent answer, so I do need a percent sign. So 20%. Again, it's setting up that proportion and then multiplying or dividing to solve that proportion, okay? And if I can't solve it directly, we simplify it, right? Let's do another one. All right. Let's see. 600 is 300% of what number? I immediately see my percent. There it is. Now, as a reminder, guys, before you even start this problem, you can go ahead and write that proportion out like so. And then I know my percent is supposed to go above 100. So that 300 is going to go above 100 as I set that up there. Now, 600 is 300% of what number? 600 that is going to be the part. So it's telling me, hey, I have a piece, but I don't know how much that 600 is of the total amount. I'm actually missing, if you look right here, I'm missing my whole. Again, when I am missing a number, I'm going to use a variable to hold that spot while I figure out what that number is. We're going to solve this proportion. Again, I always want to work towards the number I'm missing, so my arrows are going to be pointing to the left. What do I do to 300 to make it 600? I multiply by 2. So this one actually works really nicely. I didn't have to simplify it or anything. All right, on the bottom here, I do the same thing. So what is 100 times 2? It is 200. So my answer is 200. That missing piece is 200. Now, I do not need a percent sign on my answer because it is just a number. I already have my percent. My percent is already right there. So I don't need to put a percent sign on this number because it's not a percent. It's a whole number. Let's keep going. The more that we practice these, the better we will get at them. All right, here we go. What is 140% of 20? So again, I'm going to set up that percent proportion. There you go. And now I got to fill in all of my missing pieces. On top of my 100 goes my percent. It is the easiest thing for me to find. There is my percent right there. I put that on top of 100 because I want to write it as a fraction. what is 140% of 20? Of 20, that is my whole. That is my total right there. And the whole amount goes on the bottom of that second ratio fraction. And then lastly, that means I am missing my part. And I can see that right there. It says what is. And so that means that I am missing the part. I'm trying to figure out what does that percent represent. So I put an X there on top. All right, we're going to go ahead and solve this proportion. Just as a reminder, I always work towards my missing number. So my arrows are pointed to the left. What can I do to 100 to make it 20? Well, my number is decreasing, and so that means that I'm going to need to use division. So I am going to divide 100 by 5, and then I have to do the same to the top up there. I do not know that off the top of my head, so we're going to do some scratch work over here. And when I get done dividing this out, I got 28. So I found out that my part, the missing number here, is 28. So think about this in terms of like candy or something. If I had a jar of Jolly Ranchers and there were 20 of them and I said, hey, you can have 140% of my Jolly Ranchers. What that means is that you're going to be taking 28 home. You're going to take all 20 of my Jolly Ranchers and then you're going to go find 8 more somewhere else and you're going home with 28 Jolly Ranchers. That's what that answer represents right there. Okay, it is not a percent. Okay, so I do not need a percent sign. Let's keep going. 40 is 25% of what number? Again, before I even start, I can draw that percent proportion right there. And now I got to fill in the blanks. So I see my percent. Again, the percent is usually the easiest number to find because you see that percent sign. It goes above 100. All right, 40 is 25% of what number? So on this one, I have my part. 40 is. So what this problem is telling us, if we talk about Jolly Ranchers again, what this problem is telling us is they said, hey, I got to take home 40 Jolly Ranchers. That's 25% of all of the Jolly Ranchers. Help us figure out how many total Jolly Ranchers that is. So I'm actually missing my whole here. All right, we're going to solve this one. Now, this is another one where I can see 25. There's nothing I can do to 25 to make it become a 40. Okay, 25 times 2 is 50, and that's too much. All right, so what that tells me is that I am going to have to simplify this fraction right here. And so I'm actually going to divide by 25. I'm going to divide by 25. When I do that, let me rewrite my problem here. I have 40 over x, and that equals my new fraction, which is going to be 1 over 4. All right, now I should be able to solve this. So what can I do to 1 to make it a 40? Using multiplication or division, I can multiply it times 40. And then I'm going to do the same thing on the bottom. So I'm going to multiply times 40. Well, 4 times 40 is going to equal 160. 160. So my final answer here is 160. And it is a whole number. It is not a percent. And so what we just figured out is they said, hey, if you took home 40 Jolly Ranchers and that was 25% of all the Jolly Ranchers there were, that means that there were 160 total Jolly Ranchers. Okay, let's keep doing a couple more examples here, and then we're going to do some word problems. 25 is what percent of 125? Okay, I think we already did this one. So if you actually go back and look at number 1, you can see this one worked out. I apologize about the duplicate, but we're going to go ahead. I'm just going to ignore this guy, and we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a look at number 6. So 45% of the class is girls. There are 90 girls in the class. How many students are in the class? So this is an example of a word problem where we're going to set up a percent proportion. Okay, so we're going to set up this percent proportion. I got to fill in all of these blanks. So again, we're looking for a part, a whole, and a percent. I immediately see the percent. That one, again, is the easiest one to find. I'm going to put that over 100. And it says there are 90 girls in the class. How many total students, so boys and girls, are in the class? So is 90 all of the students in the class? Or is 90 just some of the students in the class? Well, if you read it, it says there are 90 girls in the class, and they want to know how many students are in the class, like total. So 90 girls is actually the part that are just girls. So this 90 girls right here is a part. It is not all the kids in the class. It's just the number of girls. So 90 is our part, and it's going to go on top of our first fraction. How many students are in the class? I'm missing the total number of students. I do not have the whole. So that is going to be my X for this problem. When I go to solve this, remember, I'm always trying to work towards my missing number. So what do I do to 45 to make it 90? I am going to multiply it by 2. And if I do that on the top, I also have to do that on the bottom. So 100 times 2, that is 200. So our answer is there are 200 students in the class. So boys and girls together, there are 200 students. Let's do a couple more word problems. It says 40% of the voters vote for Tom Henry for president. 80 people voted. How many votes did Tom get? So again, we are setting up a percent proportion, okay? We're setting up that percent proportion. So I'm going to go ahead and set that up right now. We're looking for a part, a whole, and a percent. I see that percent immediately right there, so that goes over 100. And then it says 80 people voted. How many votes did Tom get? So I'm looking specifically for Tom's votes. I'm looking for only a part of the vote. So what that tells me is that I am actually missing the part. I'm missing the part of the votes that Tom got. Okay? So my part goes on top there. 80 people voted. This is a total. This is telling me the total number of people that voted. And so that is my whole number there. Okay? Now, I'm going to solve this. I can't do anything to 100 to make it an 80. So what that means is that I'm going to have to simplify this fraction somehow, okay? So let's see. I think I'm going to divide it by 10 to start with. That should give me a nicer number to get to 80. So I'm going to rewrite my problem real quick. Okay, so I have the part X over the whole, which is 80. And that equals, that's going to equal 10, because 100 divided by 10 is 10. And 40 divided by 10 is 4. So this is my new problem. And I was correct. Look, 10 times 8 gets me to 80. And I have to do the same to the top. So that means that our X is going to equal 32 people. So how many votes did Tom get? Tom got 32 votes. So 32 votes for Tom. That is the part of the people who voted for Tom. All right, one last problem here. It says 300 students voted for their favorite sport. 60 of them liked hockey. What percent liked hockey? So we're going to set up that proportion again. All right, now I'm looking and I see no percent sign. So that tells me actually, and it says what percent. I am missing the percent, so my X is going to go on top of 100. It says 300 students voted for their favorite sport. Now, is that all the students who voted or only a part of the students that voted? Okay, well, it says 300 students voted, so I'm assuming that is all of the students. And if we keep reading, it actually says 60 of them like hockey. Okay, that is going to be our part. That is the part of the students that liked hockey. Okay, so here is our part. So we have 60 on top of 300 there. All right, we're going to go ahead and solve this. So again, I always work towards my X. So that means I'm going to be pointing my arrows to the right. What do I do to 300 to make it 100? Well, I divide by 3. Remember, you can use multiplication or division to solve these. I'm going to do the same to the top up here. I apologize for the crampedness right there. And when I do that, 60 divided by 3 is 20. So my percent that likes hockey is 20. And yes, it is a percent. So you better put a percent sign for your answer. 20% of those kids like hockey. Okay, guys, I apologize that this video is so long, but there is a lot of important information, and the more that you see examples worked out, the better you'll get I promise, on identifying the part, the whole, the percent, on setting up these proportions, solving them, all of it. So I wanted to give tons and tons of examples in this video. So I hope that it really helped. Again, if you're fuzzy on how to solve proportions, check out one of my other YouTube videos on solving proportions specifically to remember some of those tips and tricks. All right, I hope this helps, and I will talk to you later. Bye!